Support for Just Seen It comes from Warner Archive Instant. Streaming hard-to-find movies and TV shows direct from the studio at WarnerArchiveInstant.com. Support for Just Seen It comes from Weaver's Coffee and Tea, makers of hand-roasted artisan coffee and hand-blended tea. Learn more at weaverscoffee.com. On this episode of Just Seen It, we review the romantic comedy, Drinking Buddies.
Live in this house or a house equivalent to this?
Yeah, you guys can come over and play bridge.
Jake Johnson of New Girl fame showcases his acting chops.
The horror thriller, You're Next.
Okay, we should each carry a weapon.
It might be weird to say this considering it's a violent horror film, but I had a lot of fun watching it.
We offer up our favorite classics based on true stories.
I'll be fine. Really?
Really? Everybody already knows what happens to the Titanic, right? So when you make it into a film, you better bring something fantastic.
And check out the apocalyptic drinking comedy, The World's End.
We'll have 5 of those, please. No, sorry. Can we have 4 of those and a tap water, please?
All I want to know is where do I sign up for the Golden Mile Pub Crawl?
All right here on Just Seen It. Luke and Kate work at a local brewery and start to fall in love. The problem is, they are both already in relationships with other people.
Heard a lot of great things about you, and we're excited to have you.
Really? Good.
But there's nothing a little bit more beer can't solve in Drinking Buddies.
Hi, I'm Sean. Hi, I'm Salim.
And I'm Liz. We're here today to discuss the newest film from Joe Swanberg, Drinking Buddies. We've all just seen it. Sean, why don't you start us off?
I will, after I drink a beer. No, I'll just go ahead and start. I'll get a beer later. Anyway, this is a quaint, charming little movie. It's a bit of a surprise. Joe Swanberg was one of the people involved in the Mumblecore movement, which was this highly improvised, dialogue-heavy series of films, and this seems like kind of the evolution of that. It's got a bigger budget, bigger names to it with Olivia Wilde and Jake Johnson, but it's very well acted. It's just a nice little film that's an end of summer surprise.
Yeah. What I love about Joe Swanberg is his style. It's the slice of life of this craft beer world, and it's so honest and authentic. It's a guy and a girl who have unrequited love for each other. But after the first 10 to 20 minutes, it completely changes. Your expectations are usually not founded at all because it has time to breathe.
Yeah, it's set up with standard romantic comedy tropes, and then it completely departs from them right away. And that's the best part, is that you think oh no, they're gonna get together, or this is gonna happen, or that's gonna happen, and it defies your expectation.
Yes, I did think that the plotting was sometimes a bit obvious, but it ends up not exactly working out the way you think it's going to work out, which is a testament to how well it's written.
What I liked is that it was an exploration of, I guess, the ethics of temptation. You have two couples, and one couple acts on the temptation and the other couple doesn't. And what is the larger ethical error? Is it the couple that doesn't act on the temptation but it's seething underneath, or is it the couple that acts on it and moves on with their lives? And I like that a lot. I like that exploration as a theme.
Yeah, and I also love the push and pull when you have a friendship between a guy and a girl. What kind of ownership do you have in terms of this relationship? Obviously none, but you feel like you have some of it.
How close can you get?
Exactly. You know, how close can you get without it being jealous? How much of it is flirting? How much of it is just playing around? It's interesting because a lot of the times these characters don't have real conversations or heart-to-hearts. They talk around a lot of issues because a lot of it is tension that they're kind of trying to avoid.
Hi, guys. Hi.
Hi.
This is Jill.
Jill, how are you? Nice to meet you.
Luke?
Yes, Luke. Nice to meet you, Luke.
This is Callie.
Hey, Callie.
How are you?
Mike.
Chris. Hey, Mike. Chris.
Everybody.
Pleasure, yeah. Nice to see you.
First time here.
Welcome, man. We've had, all jokes aside, we've heard a lot of great things about you, and we're excited to have you.
Really? Good.
Yeah.
That's great.
And the performances are all terrific. I mean, you've got Olivia Wilde and Jake Johnson, Anna Kendrick, and Ron Livingston from Iowa. Got to point out that she's from Iowa. Olivia Wilde I thought was a revelation in this movie. Generally, she just seems to be the pretty face in really bad movies like Cowboys and Aliens and In Time. Here she shows she can make a good movie.
I've always felt like she's been forced into a lot of movies recently because she's a pretty face, because she has this personality. And in this one, it felt like she had a unique character that was completely different from anything I've ever seen. She has these very small moments of not being that confident in herself. And it's something that you wouldn't think Olivia Wilde would play, but she plays it so adeptly. But Jake Johnson, I love him in New Girl. He has this carefree personality, always probably one of the funniest people on screen. And here he was able to show us that he can act, not only act, but he has these moments that you can tell that he's thinking a lot. There's a lot going on underneath, and he's not saying anything because again, there's scenes that just play out and what should be said is not said, and you know that they're thinking it and not saying it.
Well, he has a warmth that he's exhibiting in this role, which he never really does before. I mean, look at Safety Not Guaranteed. He gave a fantastic performance in Safety Not Guaranteed, but it was still that, like, acerbic, cranky guy who's, you know, the funny guy. And then in this movie, he's so warm, he's so friendly, he's likable. He's so likable and physical, you know, he's affectionate. That's a nice little flip on what your expectations, yet again.
You've obviously got a lot of love, so that's there. Some people don't, some people are snakes, and you're fun. And if Chris is lucky, you know, you have babies and do all that good stuff. And
what I did enjoy is that our writer-director, Joe Swanberg, has this history of getting actresses naked, and he got Olivia Wilde naked in this movie, and I was pretty amazed by that.
Could have used more of that.
Kudos to Joe Swanberg.
Yes.
But he has a way of getting to actresses and really pushing them and getting them to expose their vulnerabilities. It's not just nudity, but I was really happy that he got to take this A-list cast and push them to the extremes.
Drinking Buddies is a winning end of the summer indie. Go with your friends and then have a beer afterwards. See it.
When given time to breathe, Drinking Buddies brews into an unpredictable and authentic romantic comedy. Definite see it.
I love it. I love it. I wish I'd made it. See it.
Cheers.
Cheers to Drinking Buddies.
Here's to beer.
Good beer.
Or coffee.
A family reunites to celebrate their parents' wedding anniversary.
I just want you all to know how much it means to us that you're all here.
Thanks to Mom and Dad.
But masked intruders invade their home and begin murdering them one by one.
Why would anybody do this? They've been watching us for days.
It is up to one woman to fight back and end the killing spree in You're Next.
Hi, I'm Kevin.
I'm Scott.
And I'm Salim, and we're here to talk about the new horror movie, You're Next. We've all just seen it. Kevin, why don't you take it away?
Horror is my genre of choice, so I'm very particular about it. What I expected was a typical slasher home invasion, and while you get that, they tweak it just enough to make it a little bit different. There's kind of some subtle humor in there.
What I don't get about this movie is it's getting a lot of credit for being different from the norm, that it breaks tradition. I don't see what tradition it breaks. You have people who are in a bright house looking out into a dark yard. That's stupid. And you have people in a house who are now going to venture off on their own into individual rooms on individual floors. I don't understand how this film is different.
I will agree with you on that, because when they kept on saying it redefines, and when I saw the trailer, I'm like, what's the redefinition? It wasn't 5 horny teenagers going into the woods and getting picked off one by one. There was the whole family reunion thing. And you still have them playing out their sibling issues while people are getting killed, which I thought was hilarious.
The problem with the movie is that it wants to be this straight horror film with slasher elements to it, but it becomes a siege movie. It just doesn't connect well. Everything seems transient and unimportant.
But isn't that kind of the fun of it, is that it's not sticking to, this is just going to be a home invasion movie, or this is just going to be a slasher movie. It kept on kind of meandering, which you might not have appreciated, but I thought that was interesting.
But having a multiple personality doesn't make a movie good. You need to pick a theme and you need to stick with it. I thought this tried to become a siege in the first act, wants to be straw dogs, and instead it's a straw man argument. It is characters you don't really know who die graphically. To me, this makes The Purge look like Fellini. I don't understand.
Stop right now.
I don't understand the point of this. You have people in scary masks coming to kill you in your home. What's the difference with The Purge?
There was a reason for the people. There was some twists and turns. There was some humor that's unexpected. So it made it a little bit different. But in the end of the day, you know what you're going for. So if you like this type of movie, if you like to get scared because things jump out at you, you're gonna like it.
Okay, we should each carry a weapon.
Horror movies are about the atmosphere and are about the story and not about the jump moments. I feel like a lot of people who love horror movies bemoan the jump moments because it seems like a cheat to be able to use music.
He does it better though, and they didn't use music. After the opening scene, they didn't use music to jump.
I don't know. It felt like every other horror movie. It started feeling like torture porn because because it just became how gruesome can they kill these people, and I started getting to a point where I just was looking forward to these people dying, unfortunately.
I agree with Salim here. There are two kinds of horror films. There are kinds that are graphic and have gotcha scares, and there are those that build tension. Conjuring builds great tension. To me, this movie has no tension because you don't care about the characters.
We should mention the lead actress is Sharni Vincent, who's pretty popular, I guess, in Australia, and she was in Step Up 3D.
She certainly establishes herself as being able to handle action. I could see her in a comic book film, in an action film. She's a great action hero. I just needed a little more to her.
What is really interesting is they give this hefty role to a female character. She's not scared, she's not running away, she's actually kicking butt and holding her own, which to me is the most intriguing part of the entire movie.
One of my problems, though, is the fact that they had a woman who could kill men. That makes it groundbreaking. So what? There's Tomb Raider. There's Catwoman. There are all kinds of female heroes.
They were superheroes, though, and she's just a regular old gal.
Well, you'd like to think that, but if you're going to be a regular old gal, then have a regular old personality. Have regular old features that we can bond with. That's the great thing about heroes, people who are everyday Joes who rise to the occasion.
Let's talk about the director a little bit, Adam Wingard. He's done segments in movies VHS and VHS2, so he does have an affinity for horror, which is prevalent here, but because there's all these other things that are going on with the siege and the comedy, it just doesn't mesh well together completely.
This is a smart and winking nod to the slasher and home invasion genre, and it had me on the edge of my seat, so I say, see it.
This movie had two redeeming qualities, the occasional humor, and it eventually ended. I'm going to do to this ticket what this movie did to its victims. I'm going to tear it apart slowly and say skip it.
A simple horror movie undone by its lack of cohesive rhythm and tone. Stream it.
Our votes add up to 1.5 tickets, which is a stream it. For your next.
As it should be. Cheers, guys.
For this week's DVD pick, I've chosen to shine a light on a lesser-known documentary called Senna.
There was an energy, a force, a spirit. It was electrifying.
It was the last time either of them would be on a podium.
This 2010 doc about Ayrton Senna focuses on his career as a Formula One racer, utilizing archive racetrack footage and interviews from the time. Senna began his career in 1984 and won an amazing 41 races in 10 years. In addition to winning a documentary award at Sundance, the film has won 3 BAFTAs and currently has a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. Senna is informative, suspenseful, and riveting. It's currently available to stream online, so if you like documentaries at all, this should be at the top of your list.
Just Seen It looks at our favorite films based on real-life events. The Doomed Love Story, Titanic, the Mob biopic, Goodfellas, and the affecting tale of 2 boys in Rio de Janeiro, City of God.
Hi, I'm Leah.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Sean. We're going to change pace on Just Seen It because we want to talk about a few movies that are based on true stories. Now, what's so great about movies based on true stories?
Truth's sometimes stranger than fiction. And when we storytell, make films, plays, whatever the format is, it helps us make sense out of the crazy stuff in the real world. Otherwise, you know, based on some of the films that we're going to talk about today, we would never leave our homes because we'd be too scared. We'd
I'd never go to Brazil.
We'd never go to Brazil. We'd never get on another boat. We'd never get on another plane.
I'm going to talk about City of God, a Brazilian film that came out in 2002. So the film is based on a novel that was written by Paulo Lins about all of these events that actually took place in the favelas in Rio de Janeiro. The director is Fernando Meirelles, and it tells the story of a bunch of kids growing up in a favela in Rio de Janeiro. You get so many different perspectives on what it was like to live in this place, in this time, and be a poor person in Brazil. There's an 8-year-old kid who plays the character of Lil Dice, and he is so amazing to watch. He's just enthralling. He has a look of insanity in his eyes because he's kind of a crazy, screwed up kid. And then in terms of directing, Fernando Meirelles does an incredible job. He uses so many visual techniques from so many different kinds of styles and so many different directors. It's the kind of film where every 45 minutes, something will happen, a scene will transition, and we'll go to somewhere else, and I'll just say, oh my God, this movie is so good.
Ai, me amarro na tua, não vou entrar em contradição contigo não, mano. Sou teu amigo pra caralho. Bota na tua cabeça que eu tô indo embora, assim. Gosto de tu pra caralho, assim. Mas não dá mais pra mim não, parceiro.
We had City of God. Now we have the Ship of Dreams.
Poor Titanic.
Yes.
So what we know to be true is that this big boat left Europe. It was this great monument and testament to technology and what man was able to create, and it was called Titanic. And on April 14th, 1912, the Titanic hit an iceberg in the middle of the night, and a couple hours later, 4 hours later or so, it was at the bottom of the ocean. But for James Cameron, who had a fascination with shipwrecks, for him, his truth associated with that was for people to understand the magnitude of loss. This is a film that has, despite it being as long as it is, has very little fat in it. You know, I sit and I look at this film and I go, oh, they could have cut that, they could have cut that. But in truth, you know, in order for us to care, they needed to have all of that romantic buildup. And what he did was he kind of blended or hybridized this kind of romance melodrama with the disaster picture. As far as spectacle goes,
sure,
Cameron really, he came out swinging, and no one's touched him since.
Talk to me about Goodfellas, Sean.
So in 1990, we had a picture come out called Goodfellas, and it demystified the romanticized element of The Godfather in terms of living life in the mafia. Directed by Martin Scorsese and written by Scorsese and Nicholas Pileggi, who wrote a novel called Wise Guys about Henry Hill, who was a real-life mobster.
And there's so much grit as opposed to The Godfather.
And you learn the two greatest things in life.
Well,
look at me. Never rat on your friends, and always keep your mouth shut.
And you know, all the gangster movies that have really come out since Goodfellas owe something to that movie. You even have Scorsese basically making the closest thing you could to a sequel, Casino, which in some ways is made to demystify Goodfellas.
Yes.
It's even darker and grittier, and terrible, tragic things happen in that movie. But Joe Pesci is terrific, as is the entire cast. I mean, there's not a bad performance in the entire movie. You've got Ray Liotta, of course, playing Henry Hill. You've got Robert De Niro. You have Paul Sorvino. I mean, it's one heck of a terrific cast. And Martin Scorsese, my goodness. I mean, there's just, the filmmaking in this is just amazing. It's a classic gangster picture, and it's a classic American picture. It's a classic movie.
City of God is my pick because it has it all. Fantastic writing, unbelievable performances, amazing camera work and editing. It's just a flawless film. You gotta go see it.
James Cameron's Titanic was a game changer. If you haven't seen it, it's worth the 3 hours. See it.
The gangster film pretty much has replaced the Western as a purely American genre, and there's The Godfather and there's Goodfellas, and that places it in pretty good company, so you should go out right now and see it.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I'm gonna tell my life story.
5 friends reunite after 20 years to take part in an epic pub crawl. What they don't realize is Earth has been invaded by aliens. So they have to decide whether to finish the crawl or save the world in The World's End.
Hi, I'm Brenna.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Sean, and we're going to talk about the latest team-up from director Edgar Wright and stars Nick Frost and Simon Pegg, The World's End. We've all just seen it. Aaron, start the Golden Mile for us.
So this is the final installment in the Cornetto trilogy that Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg have so graciously dubbed these three movies, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and now The World's End. As far as the trilogy goes, it's my least favorite in the trilogy. It's still not saying that it's a bad movie, though, because it's very entertaining, it's very fun. I mean, the characters are really fully formed, and we get to deal with real themes that you don't really deal with in a comedy, like the importance of nostalgia or whether or not we should be nostalgic about things.
What has made all of these movies fun is even though we're kind of working in different genres, the British sensibility, just like Shaun of the Dead, where even though all these crazy things are happening, like we have a zombie invasion, or here, all they want to do is just go to the next pub and grab a pint.
It's beer.
We'll have 5 of those, please.
No, sorry. Can we have 4 of those and a tap water, please?
What?
The character development is where this film shines, because the story itself, the first and second act are a lot of fun, but as it goes on, it just sort of falls apart and comes to a very unsatisfying conclusion, which doesn't make sense and kind of undoes its own morals.
There's this idea of, well, we just want to be kind of fun-loving and free and can do anything we want. And then I felt like the ending, not only does it feel strange and disconnected, it also seems to kind of throw away that theme a little bit.
Well, and even at the very, very end, when they're sort of in their final confrontation, the theme comes back up again. And then after it's resolved in a way that we can't explain, it's like, oh, I guess we're forgetting about it now.
The ending isn't wrapped up properly, and I feel that Gary's character isn't wrapped up properly.
Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are back again doing what they do best. Simon is the one out of the group of friends who never let go of the past and still clings to the glory days when he was in high school. And I think he does a great job. He's very funny. I mean, he brings all the humor, but everybody's hilarious.
It's actually one of my favorite Simon Pegg performances I've seen in a long time, because he's got so much depth. He's silly, he's ridiculous, he's at the peak of his physical comedy skills.
But he's serious when
and
he
he's
needs
also
to
serious,
be.
and he's at this heart-wrenching scene, and you're just this depth to his character and his this range he has. It's amazing to watch him work.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
I'm going to the toilet.
Well, then so am I.
Gary, you are out of your mind.
What are you talking about? You gave me the sign.
What sign?
You went to the toilet.
Another thing that separates this film from the rest of the Cornetto trilogy is that Nick Frost is playing a different character. He's not the hanger-on.
Yeah.
He's actually kind of the straight guy this time.
For a little while.
For a little while, yeah. But he's not, the bumbling idiot who's following Simon Pegg. It's actually kind of the opposite here. And it's great to see his range as well and see how he's matured as well.
I haven't been in a movie for a long time, probably at all this year, that was so quotable and just all these lines that I remember, and not only because they were funny, but because of how they were delivered and who delivered them.
Yeah, the script was written for these actors. The script was written with all of the actors in mind.
And not necessarily actors known for being in comedies.
Yeah.
You've got Patty Considine, who is in America. You've got Rosamund Pike, probably best known for Die Another Day, the James Bond flick. So, I mean, they're not necessarily comedic actors, but they show up in a comedy.
So Edgar Wright is clearly at the helm of this film, and he's doing the things that he does best. His directorial style, it uses a lot of different elements. We've got fast cutting, we've got great little montages. Everything's at play that he's used in his previous 2 films, and he utilizes all of these elements in a more refined way. You can really tell that he's grown up in making this film.
He's also quite good at making sure all the ends meet. So when you go into an Edgar Wright film that if you see something in the beginning, it's probably going to be referenced again at the end.
Yeah, they're great with plants and payoffs.
Yeah. So there's a lot of that in this film, as you'd expect, as well as inside jokes for his previous films, even some space references with some cameos from that as well. But what I took away from this film were the fight sequences. Bradley James Allen is a stunt coordinator, and he did Kick-Ass, and he did Scott Pilgrim, and he did such great work with each of these actors and gave them each their own fighting style. So you have like this amazing fight scene where Simon Pegg's character is trying to drink his beer while still fighting off aliens.
Yeah. Edgar Wright knows how to utilize every part of a film to his advantage, and does so here. The World's End is definitely an enjoyable conclusion to the trilogy. I don't think it's everything I hoped it would be, but it's fun nonetheless, so I say see it.
Complete the Golden Mile, complete the Blood and Ice Cream trilogy, and see it.
The World's End may not be as earth-shattering as its title suggests, but it's a satisfying conclusion to the Wright-Pegg-Frost team-up. See it.
Cheers.
To the bitter end.
To the lager end.
It's been announced that Ryan Coogler, the director of Fruitvale Station, is next slated to direct Creed, a spin-off of the Rocky franchise featuring Apollo Creed's grandson, trained by Rocky Balboa himself, Sylvester Stallone. Those of you who know me know I am the world's biggest Rocky fan, so I have a proposal. Yo, Coog! Cast me in your movie! It's been my lifelong dream to be in a Rocky movie, and I have the perfect role for myself. Okay, get this. I could play the great-grandnephew of Burgess Meredith's character, Mickey Goldmill. We'll call me Ricky Goldmill.
I'm too old to waste my time trying to train a no-good loser like you, you bum!
I could be Creed's cut man, and I could yell from the corner, "It's over, Creed!" And then Sly as Rock could say, "Ain't nothing over till it's over." He's done for, I tells you! We gotta throw in the towel! It ain't about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. I don't think now's the right time for your reflections on life! This is great. This is great, Kook. It is a masterstroke. I am telling you. I am by the phone right now. Give me a call, man. We can make this happen. You know what? If you don't like the role, I could just play Creed. It could work.
On our next episode, we review the action thriller The Grandmaster from noted director Wong Kar-wai, and then another but very different action thriller, Getaway, starring Ethan Hawke. And we start to check out the fall TV pilots. Where did the summer go? Thanks for watching, and see you next week.
Support for Just Seen It comes from Warner Archive Instant. Streaming hard-to-find movies and TV shows direct from the studio at WarnerArchiveInstant.com. Support for Just Seen It comes from Weaver's Coffee and Tea, makers of hand-roasted artisan coffee and hand-blended tea. Learn more at weaverscoffee.com.